typically, like, I have a general idea of what I want to do in my episodes, and I basically go until that's been achieved. But yeah, I definitely feel the pressure. Like, if I didn't have that pressure, I probably would disappear for months and months and months and not post anything. So it keeps me grounded, having that constantly lingering. I always view it as like when you were in school and you had an essay due the next day. It's like I always have that pressure in the back of my mind, like I got to get this done, right?
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
All right, we are back with Etho. Welcome back, Etho.
How's it going? Feeling refreshed?
Did you have any thoughts of not coming back after the break? Maybe just calling it a day?
He's putting up with us.
I didn't get distracted on the way on my break or anything, so I came back. Okay. Good to go for a bit more here.
All right, sweet. Well, we appreciate your time. We won't keep you all day, but we do have a lot more that we wanted to talk to you about. So yeah, I thought we'd go into a part 2 and welcome back everybody if you watched part 1. Thanks for coming on back because we're going to learn a little bit more about Etho today, whether he likes it or not.
Hey, it's been fun.
Yeah.
No snap.
There it is. So I think we ended the last part saying, we want to dive into more about some things like we talked about where your name came from, but your skin is also very recognizable, and I will let Skizz pronounce Naruto.
Shoot. Naruto. It's Naruto.
I can't do it. Naruto.
Yeah, let's just say what it. Can you just own it? It's too funny.
I thought it was pronounced Naruto.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
honestly don't know either.
It's
Whoa,
not. Oh, let's get right into it then. How is it that your character is Kakashi? How did that come to be?
It was mostly because there weren't a lot of options in the past. Like you went on the skin website or whatever. There was only a few hundred at that point when I picked my skin, and I picked Kakashi because I liked how he looked. He kind of went with the whole like secretive thing I used to do with my online trolling and stuff in the past. So I like the mask on him, I thought that was good. And he was like one of the only skins at that time that had layers to it. Like you had a hair layer and the mask layer. So it was very fancy compared to most. They were very, very flat and boring before.
Recently got a chance to see Etho took off that extra layer on his face. And so you could see like what was under the mask. It's pretty interesting.
It's pretty freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's underneath?
Not much.
Oh man, I gotta see this now.
Yeah. It was interesting, but I mean, so I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about this a little bit more is because you've never changed your skin, right? Like ever, other than like from Steve, the original character, to this Kakashi character skin, right? Like, have you ever in your entire Minecraft career changed from that?
Well, I was Steve for a while, and then I switched to Mario. Not many people know that. I had the NES Mario.
No way. It's me. That Mario.
That's right. That's right. One of the most popular skins at the time.
Wow.
I actually, like, before Minecraft, I played on servers too, so I needed a skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then I switched to Kakashi, and it's been with me ever since. And I love him, and he's got a lot of unique features, and I think it's a perfect skin.
It's a great skin.
Yeah,
it's so Etho,
I couldn't imagine you in anything else.
I can't
honestly.
either.
Like I changed my skin based on characters that I play. In seasons of Hermitcraft, like I had the Willy Wonka character, so I changed into a Willy Wonka style. And then I had the dwarf character last season, and now this season I went with the more cyberpunk. I don't mind changing my skin and kind of like having a different identity from season to season, but there is something to be said about having that one original character skin that is identifiable by all. Like to the point that like we were in an arcade center in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there was one of those claw games, and it had like little plushes in it, and one of the plushies was Kakashi, and basically everybody was like, gotta get Etho. You gotta win that plush because that's Etho. You know what I mean? So like like almost like you've become more famous than the character that inspired your skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the artist for Kakashi. I imagine somebody like behind him being like, "Why are you drawing Etho?"
No, that's pretty epic, man. And yeah, so like, you know, when it comes to like MCC or anything like that, it's just like, nope, he's gonna stay Etho because it's recognizable, and I dig that. I dig that about you. And we kind of made a joke before the end of the last segment that like the same thing kind of with thumbnails. It's kind of like your style. It's almost like you know this is Etho because it's the thumbnail, like or not a manufactured thumbnail. So how did that come to be? I asked that question and then we decided to save it for this one. So I wanted to pick up right on that. How did that come to be? Like when your decision making process on like picking thumbnails or doing thumbnails, you know, what is your strategy behind that?
I don't know if I'd call it a strategy. It's more out of laziness than anything.
Told you we were going to call you out.
As YouTubers, you know, there's certain things we enjoy doing and there's certain things we don't enjoy doing, and
that's super fair.
We do the things we don't enjoy just because we have to.
Yeah.
Thumbnails are one of those for me, and I just don't do them.
Yeah. So I want to lean into this a little bit because that is so you, right? It feels like your entire YouTube career hasn't been so dedicated to chasing algorithms and chasing trends and making videos the way that YouTube is pushing people towards and things like that. But you've kept to like your original style, not getting into this, it's, you know, YouTube videos are 90% about the thumbnail and title and 10% about the actual content. You lean almost the other direction, although your titles are still pretty brilliant, but like you don't worry about your thumbnails, and yet you've kind of proven that you can go against what the system is pushing and still be successful. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Right? Like that says wonders for what you are doing and what you are making, that you don't need to like follow those trends and you know, care so much about analytics and what all that is doing from a YouTube algorithm standpoint, and you can just do what you're doing and know that it's still going to be successful. I mean,
I think it's a little bit of a special case too with us because like most of my viewers are return watchers. I don't really attract a lot of new viewers, and having a thumbnail would help with that, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting. So I really admire the honesty.
Yeah.
When that he was just straight up like, well, because I'm lazy. Like he made a joke, but the message was, I don't want to. And I like that. You know that about me, Impulse. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't want to do things that I don't want to do. And I'm getting older now, and then I just and I'm like this at my job too. And they're like, we need to do this. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna. Because that has no value, you know. And I'm like, it has no value. That. I'm not. And
he's got short timer syndrome.
Yeah, I think I do. But because what Etho delivers is such a stellar product that people are always going to want more of, he gets to have that luxury of I don't want to. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he also has. I see a lot of B-dubs in Etho in regards to. It seems like, and I could be wrong here, but it seems like, Etho, that you're in a very healthy mindset in regards to where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And you're not, you know, a lot of people just consume themselves with what's next, that they forget to live in the present day. And B-dubs has just the healthiest outlook. I feel like I learned so much from B-dubs when he was on the podcast, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities in Etho in regards to, he just seems to have this pretty fantastic balance. I have a question about your hunger, Etho. When you did start your YouTube career, I think it's normal for people to want to grow, to want to be big. Would you think that there was ever a time in your career where you obsessed a little bit about it, or was it all just, you just grew organically and you've just had this peace of mind from the beginning, or is this peace of mind something that you've learned with time?
Well, I think like everybody wants to grow, right? It's just like how much effort are you willing to put into making that happen? How much are you willing to sacrifice to grow? Are you going to appeal to general masses more so to attract a wider audience and go off of what you really want to do, or are you going to stick to what you want to do? I think for the most part, I've stuck to what I wanted to do. But like early days of YouTube, I don't know if you know this, but like when you would log into your page, it would show you were the number 10th top viewed Canadian video for this week. Like they used to have medals and stuff, so it was almost impossible not to get invested that way.
Wow.
Because they would rank you every day.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Every single day.
Every day. And other people could view your medals too. So it was like this big competitive thing at the beginning.
So you wake up and you fall in 10 spots and you're just like, oh man, I'm falling off. I'm done. I'm done for.
You know, Mumbo made a joke about the fact that, you know how the videos have a thumbs up. They used to have a thumbs up and a thumbs down, right? And the thumbs down has been removed. And Mumbo made a joke. I saw he tweeted out about it. He's like, so YouTube removes the thumbs down, which was actually helpful because they don't want to hurt our feelings. But then I get this, and it shows that automated caption that's all, your video is performing poorer than all your less people are watching you.
Yeah. They just want to tell you directly now, you're terrible. You're terrible. Just give up.
And then they gave us this, like, here's how your video is performing against your last 10.
Yeah.
And so now when we start complaining about, oh man, this video is 10 out of 10, and all of our viewers are thinking, well, 10 out of 10, that's a good thing.
That's good.
Right?
It's like not in this world.
That means it's the worst video out of the last 10 that I've made from a viewership standpoint. Then the extra little caption it gives you is just like, fewer people are choosing to watch this video because they describe it as just absolute garbage. It's like, thanks YouTube. I needed to hear that.
It's like a giant hug. Well, let me ask you this, Etho. So we've learned that you had a passion for you're enjoying game design. You obviously understand programming. You're obviously good at what you're doing with Minecraft. When you were younger and coming up, and we all did this. We visualized. I talked about how I knew I wanted to be in performance. Did you know you wanted to be in some sort of realm of creating, or did you have other aspirations? Like maybe Etho wanted to be a lawyer for a bit there. Who knows, right? But I mean, how close are you to hitting the mark in regards to where you thought you would be when you were a child?
So I think it was about like when I was 8 or so. I just knew then that I wanted to make video games as a profession.
Wow. Awesome.
So I learned how to program back then and learned some of the aspects of it, right?
8.
I missed the mark a little bit, but I'm doing stuff with video games, so I'm kind of within the range there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in the ballpark. Like easy.
For sure.
Easy in the ballpark.
But it's very different than what I wanted to do.
Well,
but I'm not complaining, it's good.
Yeah, no, it is very good. I guess it is different because it's more performance based than it is. Yeah, I understand. But it is in the ballpark. It has to do with games, and it's
they're both creative avenues, and
yeah. And games are huge, and I don't. Did you read Ready Player One or see the movie?
No.
Does this even sound familiar?
Is that newer?
Oh no. Oh no, this is so interesting.
10 years, maybe.
Yeah. The book. I would encourage you to read the book. The book was so good. But the reason I'm saying this is because it really gives the green light to gamers to love being a gamer. And what I mean by that is the entire premise of the book. So the setting is in the 80s. So they do a lot of references to pop culture in the 80s. Like Rush was a huge band in the 80s. There's a lot of Back to the Future stuff. And it's basically, not to give away too much of what the story is, but the whole game is centered around game development at its finest. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to correct one thing. The setting's not in the 80s. The setting is actually in the future, but the sort of the brain of this whole thing, all of his influence were from the 80s, right? In regards to this land he makes called Oasis. It's this big, virtual reality world that everybody lives in. And there's a lot of 80s references in there and everything. Anyways, my point being this, it made being a gamer as cool as it gets. Like that's what it did. It kind of was like, I think it referenced Tron at one point. But Tron was, in my opinion, was one of the first steps of making gaming cool, right? And
very
this
visual.
very visual, very cool. And this was what this movie did, is it made the concept of, and I'm talking about being an old school console gamer, right? Like going back to like in television and old school consoles, and really talking about the Easter eggs and what the developers did back then to those games. And the Orson Scott Card, is that the author?
Sounds.
I think so. I might have blown that, but I might be thinking of, I don't know. Anyways, he did his research in the fact where I found myself, just much like when I read a Dan Brown book, I end up putting the book down and going doing research to look up what he wrote about because it was so fascinating. This did the same thing. He would talk about a certain piece of the back cover of a certain game from like an old school console. I'd go look images. I'm like, there it is. Like none of this is fiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he made it so cool. And that's what Etho's reminding me of, is when he talks about at 8 years old, I wanted to make games. And so I was learning how to program at 8. Like he's reminding me of like the characters in this book, you know what I mean? Where it's like gaming was not like this passive thing that Etho was doing. It was life. Like that's what I'm getting, you know, I might be overselling it, but that's what it kind of feels like.
No, I really like video games. Always have, always will.
So what was your first gaming console?
Ooh.
First gaming console, I bought a Nintendo.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I actually have. I just recently got this bug about just nostalgia, I guess. You know, and I grew up. I was a Nintendo's kid, and so I was like, man, I regret selling. I sold my Nintendo at some garage sale along the way.
Along with your basketball.
Now they're worth a fortune.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I really wish I still had my console, even if I don't play it, more just like a piece of art, you know, because like it does have an art vibe to me.
They look
I
really
love that
cool.
style. Yeah.
Yep.
So I recently bought the regular NES Super, and then I also got a Super Nintendo. I also got the 64. And then I got a GameCube, and I just have them on display now in a cabinet in my studio, just because, it brings me back to those days. Like those days got me started in the gaming world. So it's kind of cool to hear that. Same for you, you know, like what game was it that really had you as a kid? Do you remember like what your favorite NES game was?
Definitely Metroid on the NES.
I love Metroid, dude.
That was so good. Very frustrating though. Old games were very frustrating.
Yes,
Oh
they
my gosh.
were. Yes, they were, dude.
Etho, let me ask you this: have you ever played Blaster Master?
No.
Okay.
Sounds like a math game.
If you ever want the most frustrating game experience, play Blaster Master. It is super unforgiving. No, it's not very math. It's so you're this little tiny guy, but mainly you're in this like kind of tank vehicle, and you alternate between whether or not you're in this tank vehicle and getting extra power ups and stuff to fight enemies, or you have to get out as a little dude and navigate in, and that like completely
I've
changes.
seen that.
Yeah, it changes the vibe. So when you're a little guy and you go inside a door, it kind of becomes more of like a Zelda style gameplay, where when you're in the tank, it's more of like a left to right, you know, kind of ordeal.
Okay.
But that game was the one that got me, and I think it was just because of how difficult it was and how punishing it was that I became like, I must beat this game. Do you find you mentioned you're not as competitive anymore, so I feel like there is a story of you being a competitive youth. Was there something to that competitiveness and gaming that you had as a child, or was that competitiveness coming from somewhere else?
I think it was more like the drive to do it for yourself, right? Like I was never competitive, like I want to beat this person kind of thing. I was competitive in more of a fun way, I think.
Okay.
Like when I was playing with other people. Yeah, I don't know. It's always I'll be honest, I never beat Metroid. I still haven't. The original. it was too hard. I couldn't beat Mother Brain.
So that's interesting because, like, I mean, the fact that it's not keeping you up at night,
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it
yeah.
says a lot, actually. Like, you are able to let things go, that's good. Because not me, like, I literally obsessed about it until I beat it.
I was that way too. I was that, and when I was younger, I dropped that a long time ago, but I was that way to where it was so upset. I like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, dude. It was hard to get to Mike Tyson. Then once I got there, I was done in one shot, right? I played that game until I, beat the whole game finally, but I was like that with games, and Etho's got me thinking. I'm starting to wonder if I ever beat Metroid. I loved Metroid.
I can't remember ever beating it either. I mean, I'm sure I played it casually, but
Yeah,
I don't think I
know.
ever really.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It is. It was a hard game, man, and that's another thing that those games sort of had back then is they were tough. They were very unforgiving. And the whole idea that we talked about this, we did a podcast about games. Like we visited a lot of these, and it wasn't until Zelda that games started to save. So like if you wanted to beat it, you weren't going anywhere. You sit down, and this is what you're doing. And Metroid was like that. We also talked about, I would say, possibly the most infuriating game of all time. Etho, did you ever play Marble Madness?
Marble Madness. For the Nintendo or what?
Nintendo. Old school Nintendo, yeah.
I've seen it. I've never played it.
Oh, that game is maddening. You have to keep in mind that you are the marble and you need to execute diagonals perfectly. And those old school controllers are up, down, left, right. There is no
In
diagonal.
2D.
2D, dude. Yeah, it was special. God, this is fun. You know what this makes me want to do? So do you ever still just play games for fun? Like you ever play Nintendo anymore for fun?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll whip out like some of the old stuff. Not very often. Usually
It's
I go
rare.
to Steam nowadays, but
Yeah.
if I'm looking for a second game.
What is your non-Minecraft go-to these days for like? I'm guessing you're off camera when you play these games, right? Outside of Minecraft.
Yeah, it changes all the time. Like the most recent one was I've been playing Rotwood with Brody.
Okay.
Rotwood,
Playing what?
it's a newer game on Steam.
Rotwood. All right.
I don't know the game, but I'm
Yeah.
what kind of style game is it? Like don't starve together was the last thing I saw you and Brody playing. I'm trying to think
It's-
what style game would you be playing with?
It's
Brody?
a roguelike, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's usually my favorite genre, roguelikes.
Those are the ones where you get reset, right? Like you
Yes.
start to build up and then
Yeah.
you kind of get reset when you fail. Like, I don't know how you do it, man. Those games
They're
infuriate me.
maddening.
Yeah.
They're absolutely
Yeah,
maddening.
Don't Starve was that way as well, right? Like,
Well,
no, it's
They're
not.
all-
You just get reset.
but also Played Up, right? So Tango and I were playing Played Up, and you got to build your restaurant. And if you fail one day, you lose it all.
Right.
And we would be playing for like hours, but it made it more invested. But we would be doing our thing, and then he's got to go serve that customer, and I'm like, that customer's losing their patience. You can see their patience bar going down, and if it gets all the way down, and we fail, we lose our restaurant. And I'm like, Tango, and he's like running across, trying to throw the burger in their mouth as fast as he can, and it's just, but those bring back old school gaming. You know what I mean? Like modern games have, in my opinion, they've lost that. But the Rogue, as infuriating as it is, it reinvents investment. You know what I mean? Like I've got to be perfect. I've got to, that's what old school games were.
I don't like games that try to tell stories, really. Like where you're watching cutscenes and you're just waiting to play. I can't stand those kind of games with the linear gameplay. It's always the same every time.
Yeah. You know how the story is going to end before you even start the game, pretty much, right?
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw what you're talking about in an arcade, and I don't remember the exact game, but it was some sort of knight game, right? Like a sword and knights and stuff like that. And I remember like you put the quarter in and then you were like, watch a movie.
Oh,
Like, it was
really?
like- yeah, it was
On an
just like-
arcade machine?
Yeah, it would just like
Wow.
it would just like the scenes were so long,
And you can't even hear it hardly because it's just on those two little speakers on
Yeah,
the
terrible
on the
sound
case.
quality, yeah.
And then there's like the whole arcade noise around
Yep.
you.
Yeah. And then you'd have to like it'd get to a point to where you have to make a decision. So it was like a decision tree based story, you know? And you'd be like, I don't know, I guess go left. And then you watch another 5 minutes of whatever. I'm like, this is so boring. I did not like it. All right. So I'm putting this down as a bucket list item. This is happening. I'll do it right here, live on the podcast. And I edit these, so it will make the podcast. We have to play. I want to play Mario Kart with Etho sometime.
Oh,
We can do that. We can do that through like what's it called? The Switch, right?
Yeah.
We can hook up the Switch through the computer. We've done it. We actually streamed it.
Yeah.
In fact, Mario Kart is like that game for me that I will never be at a certain age where I don't want to play Mario Kart. I love Mario Kart so bad. So that's on your. You don't have any say in this, Etho. That's something that we're doing.
I was like, I don't even own a Switch.
I don't have a Switch, no. I played a ton of the Super Mario Kart and the N64 one, and then I kind of fell out of it ever since then.
So I think the Super Nintendo was my first real true obsession with Mario Kart. Actually, was that when it first came out?
I think the original version was Super Nintendo, yeah.
My buddies and I was in high school at the time, and we would go to his house and play every day, dude. Like it was just, we couldn't get enough of it, man. It was amazing. So that's on our future. All right. I'm going to dial us back to Minecraft because I have a question for Dr. Tho.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be unfair because I'm going to put you right on the spot, but let's rock and roll. What do you want to see Minecraft have? What does Minecraft not have today? And like I love this question because my list is a mile long. I have a ton, and most of it's centered around enchanted boats. But I would love to hear.
Yeah, I'm curious about your enchanted boats now.
I'll tell you so you have time to think about what you would like to add. Okay, so enchanted boats. We're going to have one that's going to be called, one of the enchantments will be off-roading. And what it means is you can, depending on the level, you can go up a certain amount of pixels. So if you're on the water and there's ice that's level with the water to where it's up a few pixels, it doesn't stop the boat. You have an off-roading enchantment. You just go up on the ice and back down onto the water. That's one.
Okay. Yeah.
That could be cool. Another one's going to be designed for lava. You can actually be in lava. That's good. Another enchantment will be called sidecar. That'll add a third person to the boat if you want to put 3 people on the boat. And another one is going to be, I'm probably going to call it like a rooster tail, to where you're going to have like extreme speed. Like it's cooking. That boat is cooking.
It's funny that you obsess about boats, considering you don't even know how to get in one.
Shut up, dude. That was one time. Jerk. Get the boat.
All right, Etho, what do you got? You got anything?
Well, now he's got me wishing for a drift enchantment on boats now.
Hey, add it to the list. Oh, I like that.
Now, the way I like to explain this is like in Minecraft, we explore, right? We find an area, we go caving, we get resources. There's a systems around all that. Then you collect resources from that area. You use those resources to build stuff. And then the one aspect that's kind of missing is your build needs to come to life, right? It needs to become animated. It needs to be interactive. We have redstone to control the logic of how we want those interactions to happen, but we don't really have the tools to make something interactive. Like we don't have like moving NPCs. We don't have a lot of control over blocks moving. It would be nice if there was more of that. Like we have pistons, but they're very limited. You know, stuff to make the world move and change and interact is what I want. To bring that next level of investment into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how like just little things, you know, like a minecart that's just traveling around.
Yeah.
You know, your world can just add a little bit of animation, a little bit of life. You even like what are the spore blossoms? You know how they have like a little drip that comes down, or Crying Obsidian has a little drip that comes down. Like just having those in places just make it feel less static. So I definitely know what you mean, and what villagers aren't it. You know, like that you can have some fun with villagers, but it's definitely lacking.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm going back to my mangrove shop. The magma cubes behind the roots they're animated, so it gives the wall a little life. And then over with the cherry wood, it's the pollen's coming down, that gives it life. So, and I really never considered this, but I really, really, really like it. So what Etho's talking about, let's it's obviously a good thing. Let's do more of that good thing because it's so limited. Yeah. Very good.
Recently in the April Fool's thing, they had those floater things that you could move big platforms around with. Like stuff like that would be insane for the game if they actually added it.
What was it? I don't remember.
Yeah, we played this snapshot too that you're talking about, and I don't remember. Oh, we didn't play this. Was that this year's?
Yeah, this year's. It was like a block you could attach, and it would automatically calculate, like, move this big area of blocks this direction, kind of thing.
Oh, that would be nice.
Wow, like almost like a in-game world edit type thing.
Yeah, that way. Yeah, if you want to move your whole entire domicile.
This drives a pretty good question. Like, so you've obviously OG Minecraft, so it's been vanilla has been the heart and soul of what you do. What are your thoughts and feelings on like all the different modded aspects of Minecraft that are out there these days? I remember you played some Vault Hunters, but if we look at all the things we've done on Hermitcraft to make it less vanilla, I mean, it's arguably still vanilla because we don't have like it's not like mods. It's all done through resource packs mainly, but. What are your thoughts on like the progression of Minecraft in light of modded versus vanilla? Do you have a favor towards one? Do you think there is a place where there's like a middle ground? Like, what do you lean towards in what you prefer from a Minecraft standpoint?
It's changed over time. Like currently, I would pick vanilla for sure. But I think mods in the past they added more gameplay aspects to the game, while now a lot of the mods just add new textures, new mobs, new same old of the existing stuff. They don't really change the way you play the game as much, with the exception of like the crate mod and a few others. But yeah, I think if it changes the way you play, then it can have a big impact.
Is that part of the reason why you were so invested in Vault Hunters? Like I if I remember right, you really got into, maybe even addicted to Vault Hunters when we were playing with this gal the Hermits were playing.
Yeah, that was cool. It really changes the way you play that, but it's also very specific on the way you have to play Vault Hunters, right? While a lot of the mods in the past, they were more general, like you could use them in lots of different ways. A good example is like Railcraft. Like that mod allowed you to have a lot of control over minecarts. You could set up fast rails, slow rails, floating rails. Had unloading liquids and dropping them off, and there was so much to it. There was a ticketing system for setting up automatic junctions. A mod like that adds a lot of general features that could be applied in lots of different circumstances.
Did you see the most recent snapshot for 121? They're going to allow minecarts to go through portals with entities in them.
Yes, that's crazy.
I didn't see that part.
Immediately thought Etho's brain must be spinning right now. As soon as I saw that.
Off by default, though, Impulse.
We'll be turning that on.
It's something you have to enable?
Yeah, so currently, like if you're in a minecart and you go into a portal, or if you're riding a horse, you have to get off your horse and then your horse goes through and then you go through.
Yeah.
And same thing, if you're in a minecart, you can't go through the portal in the minecart. But they're having an option that you can turn on that you could ride a minecart through a portal. So you could literally ride a minecart through the portal and then travel, like a couple blocks in the nether and then come back out the overworld and be further away, because it's 8 to 1 travel through the nether.
How is that going to work? Like, I'm not understanding. Like, I'm asking because when you touch a portal, you got to sit there for.
No, they got rid of that.
It's just instantaneous.
Yeah, if you're writing something, it's instantaneous, like creative.
Oh man!
So you blip through, and so like when I saw that, I'm like, man, I could see Etho just coming up with an insane stuff using this.
I know what I want to do with it.
What are you doing?
I want to create like an archery game where you're all going through different portals, overworld, underworld, overworld. Like You know what I mean? Like you got to line up your shots and get your timing down based on the fact that you're in different worlds the whole time. So you might think you got a clear shot on somebody and then they're gone because they just went through the portal, and you know what I mean? Like some sort of like last man standing type thing, that, and you're just on this constant loop, and there's just, it's like just an archery based game that just kind of goes back and forth between all the worlds. That could be neato. Something to that effect.
I thought of you immediately when I saw that, Etho. I just had to bring that up, see if you caught that.
Yeah, that snapshot also changed it so that entities can trigger portals, and it doesn't have to be players, which would have fixed our portal network issue this season. A little late.
Man.
A little late. Yeah.
So, like, if we do when we go to 1.21 and we turn that feature on, because I'm pretty sure the Hermits will decide to turn that on because it's fun. Does that change anything? Like, will you be able to like go retrofit? Does that change the way the mail system works or anything like that for you?
It could change, yeah. Like, how everyone keeps linking down to the network below, and we don't want them to. That this change would allow us to prevent that, but then we also got to set it up correctly.
Yeah. I think that's cool. Like Minecraft is. They're doing a good job of just like making the game continue to feel fresh with new features and stuff. Like they're coming out with trial chambers and the mace, and so they're giving us new things to do in the game. But there was a period there where, and I think it was shortly after Microsoft bought Mojang, and they had to kind of figure out they had to realign the roadmap really, because Microsoft obviously was going to push Bedrock. And they still have Java being at the time the most popular version of Minecraft, and so they had to kind of figure out how to get parity between the two, so they felt the same for all players. And then I would venture to guess that their ultimate goal is to have one win over the other eventually, so they don't have to keep both afloat. But who knows if that's even possible. During that time when Minecraft kind of had its, I guess for lack of a better word, slump. Was there any concern in your eyes that this was going to be the beginning of the end for what you do? Like you're making Let's Plays and your channel maybe not surviving past that lull?
Yeah, it was a struggle. I know exactly when. It was 1.9. Yeah, I went quite a few years struggling for ideas at that point. And I actually hit a bit of, like, that was my first case of, like, hitting a bit of burnout, too. Where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got nothing. There's nothing new in the game. I've done everything at this point, it felt like. And, yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah, it can be pretty daunting when you have that, almost like, writer's block. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you hear a lot about writer's block, but as creators, we have creativity block, I guess. But in this case, like you could almost say I've done everything in the game and be accurate at that because of how
I think
much
at that point I was pretty close. It felt like.
So
I remember what it was exactly. I was like trying to make a rain detector or something, and by having like the snow melt when it would rain, and I remember getting so frustrated because it couldn't work because of some bug in the game or something, and that was it. That's when I switched from uploading like pretty much daily to like every 3 days. It was around that point because this is like I got nothing left.
Yeah. And since then, like it feels like you're not super driven by any kind of like schedule, like at least from what I can tell outside looking in. I'm just saying this from a viewer. It feels like nowadays you kind of like have a release whenever you feel like you've got a good amount of content, as opposed to where a normal mentality or a mentality you see more with content creators is like, I have to have some sort of like TikTok cadence, with my releases, or else we fear, if I go too long, I lose my audience because they forgot about me. If I do too many, then I've overloaded them and they can't keep up. And so you can lose viewers that way just because they're just like throw their hands up and I can't watch everything. So I'm not going to watch anything. Where have you found like what works for you now after all these years from a schedule standpoint? Do you still feel any sort of like pressure of schedule, or are you at the point to where you're just like, I'm gonna, you know, 'cause like I said, from outside looking in, it kind of feels like you just release when you feel good. But like, you tell me, like, how is it that you know when you're ready to release, or do you even think a schedule at all?
Typically, like I have a general idea of what I want to do in my episodes, and I basically go until that's been achieved. But yeah, I definitely feel the pressure. Like if I didn't have that pressure, I probably would disappear for months and months and months and not post anything. Uh, so it keeps me grounded, having that constantly lingering. I always view it as like when you were in school and you had an essay due the next day. It's like I always have that pressure in the back of my mind, like I got to get this done, right?
Yep.
So that keeps me driven. But also just the way YouTube has changed over the years, people are making better and better videos, and to keep up with that, I think you have to take more time on each episode to give out something better in order to stay competitive and make it worth the viewer's time to actually watch your videos compared to
Yep.
someone else's.
Wow. Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's
And that's what's, see, and for me, I'm trying to make, so my product on Hermitcraft is very different than everybody else's, right? You guys build just the most amazing things. And currently at this time of my life, I don't have a lot of bandwidth to do the big builds or the acumen to do them. But my product is really centered around trying to make it like provoking thought, which is what the pyramid's about, but also is the family aspect of it and the role playing, right? So I'm really leaning into the Popo stuff, and then I love the fun times that I have with the people and the collaborations. And now I started I kicked off the blooper reels and the behind the scenes at the end, and that's become a staple of my videos. So I can really lean into that stuff as well, right? And so I find myself. Etho is saying, I know what I want to do for that episode, and I don't, I don't stop until it's done. And that's wonderful. I feel like I know what I want to do. In fact, I have every episode has got its own file in regards to these are the things I'm going to do. And I have to sort of be at peace with the fact that sometimes I didn't quite pull off everything I was hoping to. And one time I did. And it was like a 52-minute video, and it was a quick cut video, and it was 52 minutes.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm just like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's too much. You know what I mean? Like I'm the worst at assessing what something is going to take or how much footage it's going to, take up or whatever. So I'm just trying to just let the product be the product. But I like what Etho's saying, that he applies the pressure to himself. And I obviously, like I need to be better. I mean, look at this podcast. This podcast must come out every Friday, and I will get the edit done. You know what I mean? It will happen. I need to be more diligent like that on Hermitcraft. I have to. Otherwise it's gonna just be this moving target constantly. You know?
I tried that before, to where I said, oh, I'm gonna set a schedule for myself, and I'm going to release a video every whatever, 5 days, 6 days, or even weekly, like even now I'm like, I'm trying to hit every Monday or something. And then I find what happens is, because you've given yourself that kind of window of opportunity, that life happens. And next thing you know, oh, I had to take a couple days off to deal with something else. And now I have less time to work on this video, but I'm got the schedule that I made up in my mind that I must hit.
Yeah.
And so now I rush the product.
Yep.
And then I don't put out something I'm proud of, and therefore the viewer is also going to notice that too.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
And that's a good way to lose someone. I
Yeah.
think, like here's the problem with YouTube is, like you said, Etho, I think you need to put something out there that makes them feel like it was worth their time. So the second you put something out there that didn't make it feel like it was worth their time, they're probably going to decide to not watch you anymore. And you may never see them again. They may never, like you make one mistake and they decide to leave. They may never check back, a month later to see if you've course corrected and you're making good content again. You know what I mean? Like it feels like everything we release, it's like, this is your shot to prove you're still worth watching. Or maybe this is your shot to entice a new viewer if they happen to click on you because you got recommended by YouTube, and the algorithm favored you that day or whatever. So at this stage in your content career, Etho, do you still feel like that amount of pressure? I mean, it sounds like obviously you care about the quality of your video, but do you feel pressure behind it when you release? You know, like feel that pressure of, oh, I might lose the viewers on this one because it's not up to my normal standards or anything.
Not necessarily lose the viewers. I think it's more like if you do a bunch in a row that are lower quality, that you'll lose people. I think people will give you usually one or two freebies where you can make a mistake. I would hope. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel the pressure a bit, but I'm also pretty comfortable taking a couple days off here and there if I need it. If I feel like I'm at that point, because I've gone through burnout on YouTube before, so I know when I need a break, and I take that break so that I'm always able to give my best when it's time to record. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, because if you force yourself through it, and I have done this before, like I have the problem of not admitting to myself that I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
Like I will straight up lie to myself and my viewers that like, and they can feel it. They can feel it when they watch the videos.
They know.
They're just like, man, this guy is burnt out and he's just going through the paces, and you can feel it, and I could feel it, but yet I wouldn't admit it to myself like ever. But I also know that when you finally do kind of like realize that, and you realize, okay, I need to go do something else. It happened for me at the end of season 9. I was burnt out. Like, that's why I didn't play Decked Out too. I didn't finish my Dwarven Keep. I didn't finish my industrial area. I was burnt out, like 100%. And so I realized that, and I decided I'm not going to force it, you know. And I feel very, I feel bad that I missed Decked Out too. You know, that experience. Like, I think I would have absolutely loved it had I not been burnt out.
You never even tried it?
I played it a bit. You know, I played it just to fill some streams and stuff. And but I know I could have gotten as addicted to Decked Out 2 as like Etho and Pearl and Cub, you know what I mean? But I didn't. I just wasn't in that space at the time. I was burnt out. And so what I did was I found something else I enjoyed doing, and that was Phasmophobia. You know, I got heavily into Phasmophobia. I really enjoyed that. And because I was enjoying it, like, I posted all those streams that I did in Phasmophobia to my second channel, and my second channel started doing really well. And I was like really grateful, because I always felt like I had kind of painted myself into a corner as a content creator, as a Minecraft content creator.
Yeah.
To where I would never be successful doing anything other than Minecraft. In fact, I tried before, right? Post videos on other games, and they didn't do well. Phasmophobia, this was the first time I played something outside of Minecraft that actually did well. And I think for me, it was exactly what I needed at the time. It was that break to get over my burnout, and I got a chance to kind of feel like there's more to me as a creator than this like what I've been painted into as just a Minecraft creator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you seem to have used that time, because you're taking this next season a little differently, right? You're doing more what works for you now.
Yeah.
Instead of just forcing through.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is good.
It's good. I think breaks, you know, are very, very healthy, because we've seen a lot of content creators just completely quit YouTube because the burnout just got too much, and they just quit. So I'd like to keep going. I don't know about you, Etho. I mean, like, if you think about it, like how much longer, I mean, 13 years is a long time. How much longer could you envision yourself doing this?
I don't know. I thought I would have been done by now. I gave it 5 years originally, but I'm still going. And I guess if they're watching, I'll keep posting. It's kind of where I'm at.
You're still going strong. I mean, you got to say it correctly. You're actually still going strong. Etho is still the name. You know what I mean? Associated with all of Minecraft is how it feels. It's just, I'm just reflecting back to all the guests we've had. We had talk about their Minecraft beginning, and it's like, well, you know, I started like everybody else watching Etho, and and I don't know who it was who said, and watching what he did, I thought I could do that.
That sounds like Gem.
Yeah.
That's such a Gem statement.
Yeah.
I watched Etho and I was like, I could do that. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this. So I think it's become pretty evident that I like humor. And I think everybody does, but I think I can find just some beautiful humor in in almost everybody, right? And Etho, I find very funny. I have a feeling that he doesn't think he is. I could be wrong, but he is the epitome of dry humor, right? Like nobody can execute proper dry humor the way Etho can, and it is just chef's kiss. And it takes me back to, Liz, I don't know if you know this, Etho, but when we did the live series and the whole thing where it was the limited life, and I asked Etho to kill me because he was part of Team Ties.
How have we not talked about the life series this entire time?
I know. We need to. There's
how much more time you got, Etho? Maybe we can do part 3.
I got time.
I had asked Etho to kill me because I was running out of time and I wanted somebody on our team to get the time. And he says, oh, and I actually like bent down and showed my neck to make it easy type thing, theoretically. And, or symbolically really. And Etho says, I love you, Skizz. You're a stand-up guy. I like everything about you. I just wish you were better at this game. And then he kills me. And it's like such an amazingly dry delivery, but it was so funny. But here's what's great. When he killed me, my audio went off. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was the last thing I heard him say. And I just wish you were better at this game. Dead. No audio for me, except for my own laughing. Right. But I listen to your guys's, and the best part is he says what he says, that I wish you were better at this game. He kills me, and all of you are all, oh! And in that same tone delivery, Etho's all, was that too much? Yeah. It was so funny. And that's what I'm saying. Like that is such a perfect delivery, and it's the dry humor. You know what it is? Sometimes it's the dad joke. He did it the other day. Etho, your voice was the last thing my viewers heard on my last video because it was the end of the BTS where I was trying to get Scar's attention. I needed to talk to him, and you guys were all distracting Scar to keep me. I couldn't get his attention, and I was running out of time. And I gotta get this scene. I gotta edit. I gotta leave tomorrow. And I said, Scar, let's go TikTok, man. And all you hear is this really subtle, very calm Etho go, you better not be on TikTok. We're YouTubers. It was just like such dry humor, but it was so funny, dude. It was the last thing that anybody heard. And that's what I was just like, I find Etho to be freaking hilarious. And I also would venture that it would not be funny, the things he says coming from anybody else. It has to come from him. It has to be that exact voice, that exact tempo, the timing that he gives it. Everything is fantastic. We talked about you a little bit when you were younger. Were you the funny kid? Because I was.
No.
And so no, you don't think so?
I don't think so, no.
Come on. You know he was.
I don't think I have a very traditional type of humor either. It's more a little bit out there.
Okay.
But if you get it, you get it, right? And it's funny.
Yeah.
I very much like situational comedy, where it only works in that one moment because of the context of what happened before. And if you wait 3 seconds, it's too soon. If you wait 5, it's perfect. 7, too long. You got to get the spot just right for the comment, and then boom.
Yep. And since you're in tune with that timing, if you're anything like me, you've had plenty times where you're like, oh, this would be so funny if I just said it 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, exactly. But, you can miss the mark so many times. It's like, oh, it wasn't fast enough.
I don't have the discipline. I a lot of times I know I missed the spot and I'll still just say it because it's like I can't just not say it. Like it was funny, but so I'll still say it. Then it's just like, yeah, it was too late. Oh, well. At least I still said it, I guess.
They change the topic right away.
Yeah.
There's
it's just crickets. Like it just I hear those cricket sounds in my head every time. Like nobody laughs at my jokes.
We've all been there. There's a scene in Seinfeld where George is at a work meeting and somebody makes fun of him, right? And he's very upset. Everybody's laughing at his expense. So now he's driving home. So clearly it's hours later. He's driving home and he's just reliving how pissed he is that this person made this joke at his expense. And on the drive home, he realizes, oh, That's what I should have said. You know what I mean? He has the perfect comeback. It's
whips the U-turn out.
Yeah. So he spends the rest of the episode trying to recreate these same exact situations so that the guy gives him the same exact insult so he can come back with this. Dude, it's so funny, dude. That's what you remind me of, Impulse.
So, Etho, this season 10, it's got a different vibe to it. We've talked about it. Skizz and I have talked about it on the podcast and also with some other hermits that we've had on as guests. Do you feel that way about this current season, that it's felt a little bit different than the past seasons? And if so, like, what do you think's the driving factor behind that?
I think we're getting old. I don't know. we're a lot more relaxed this season. I think more willing to hang out and just spend time and not like, I got to get this project done. I got so much to do. It's so big. Yeah. I got to get all these resources and build it. And yeah, I think a lot of it, we've been taking time to actually enjoy the moments with each other.
Yeah, I think one thing that's come up is we had this kind of pressure on us to go bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And it got to the point to where mega base wasn't even good enough anymore. It had to be giga base. You know what I mean? And that caused all this pressure on us to spend more time planning, more time in creative designing, more time using tools like Lightmatica to help us build when we are in the server. And all these things kind of like siloed us as creators to focus on our own big thing that we were doing, to where we didn't spend as much time together. And you know what I think, and it was the kind of the switch that went off in our minds was when we were like covering Doc's Perimeter in season 9 and not making content. I mean, we were placing blocks that were going to be content, but at the time we weren't actually making content. Nobody was hitting record. It was a time lapse, I think. But and we got to talking and we started just having what I call the most random conversations ever. I mean, literally, like,
some of those are the best.
Mumbo was giving financial advice, you know, like it went there, you know? And I think what that did was it kind of sparked us to realize that we do actually just enjoy spending time with each other, you know, off camera, you know, and just getting to know each other and realizing that time is just as valuable as the time that we spend planning an episode or planning a build or whatever. Like having that kind of camaraderie brings the server to life. You know, you mentioned bringing builds to life. Like, to bring the server to life, it means interactions with each other. And this season, I think we've seen a lot more of that. Like, we've all kind of like dropped some of the baggage that we had a little bit about having to go big or go home, and we want to just make moments together. And I think because of that, like, we're learning so much about each other as people, you know, and I think that's probably cool for the viewers too, you know, especially since a lot of us are pretty closed off. Etho, I'd say you're one of the most closed off about, you know, your personal life and things like that. But like, yet this season, we're learning more and more about you, you know, learn you make yourself a gourmet sandwich almost on the daily, right?
You gotta have my sandwich.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. It's really cool to see more personality, more just like getting to know each other, I should say. And you even showed your desk setup. I'm going to put Skizz on the spot since he edits. You got to show a picture of.
Yeah, absolutely. I still don't get it. For the record, the whole Kleenex box thing, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. So Etho, that your desk setup was a bit of a shocker, right, for a lot of us. But go ahead. Yeah.
You mean you don't get why people made such a big deal because it's such a practical idea, right, Skizz?
No, yeah, absolutely. I literally don't understand, first of all, how the Kleenex box was ever on the table, figuratively, as a mic stand, right? Because that's what it holds, is mic. Yeah. I don't understand how it works at all. And I don't understand how it was continuously the better choice for you. I don't understand it. Get a mic stand. How is it not always falling over and just constantly causing problems? So I remember I saw the image you're talking about, Impulse. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand what I'm looking at here.
It's never fallen over. It's perfect. What do you mean? It's solid as a rock.
Does this say something about you as a person? Like the fact that like you have your desk set up and it works, and so therefore you're not enticed to
Dude.
change it in any way. You like, do you feel like that speaks volumes to who you are as a person?
I think as a person, I will evaluate a situation, and if I see room for an improvement, I'll chase that improvement. But I honestly don't see much of an improvement coming from a Mike stand. I get that it's like the normal thing to do, and I think a lot of times people just assume something is the best, and then they go with it, right?
I will admit, I saw a lot of people saying that once they saw the picture of your setup, they tried it themselves with like the kind of curved arm mouse thing. And I saw a lot of people validating that was a very comfortable way to game.
It is.
So
what do you mean the curved arm thing? What do you mean?
So he actually has his arm right at like a 90-degree angle on your desk. So your keyboard's your left hand, but your mouse is actually like this, like he's turned his mouse
pretty much
sideways,
exactly like that.
Yeah, and rested his arm on his desk, and he games that way. So like when he looks left and right, he's actually from our visual standpoint going north and south, right, or up and down.
Yeah. And if he has a normal mouse like us, if he wants to look up, he pulls back this way, right?
The arm movements are all the same. Like your pivot point is at the elbow, right?
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed.
Interesting.
Yeah, I saw comments, I think on Reddit or something, that people were like, y'all dogging on Etho's setup, but give it a go, and you'll be surprised at how functional it actually is. Like as a, I'm older as well, and so like the way that we sit and have our mouse and keyboard, I would find myself like having one side of my body tense up more than the other, because you're doing a lot more like movement with your mouse. So like the right kind of like shoulder blade, that muscle that's right around that, like under the shoulder blade, would always like get tense and like lock up on me. And so I was like always constantly trying to find ways to be more ergonomic with my setup. That's why I have like a smaller keyboard now and stuff. And then I start thinking about Etho, and I'm like, man, I think he's got it figured out. Like I just need to give it a go.
Well, you and him couldn't be more different, because you can have everything working to perfection, and you will change it for the sake of changing something.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend changing those things? Like there's always a cost to change, right?
Oh, super duper. Yeah. Like,
that's my boy.
I waste a lot of time just tinkering with stuff, like, I swapped out my audio mixer in the last year, probably 4 or 5 different times.
God.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Like I swapped it to one, and then I went back to the other one, and then I went back to the one.
That's a lot.
And so Skizz comes to set up the podcast with you. He's like, there's 10 new things here. And also, what do I do?
No, he has to. Yeah, he's like, would you stop buying stuff? We don't need it.
There was so that moment when you guys all came to my wood shop and you guys were critiquing. That was such a wonderful moment. And Impulse goes and buys out all my mangrove, and B-Dubs is like, is that from our shared bank of money? And Impulse is like, oh, I probably should have asked you. And he's like, yeah, we're supposed to talk about these types of purchases. I'm like, I'm thinking, I know this in the real world, because I'll come over to do the podcast, and I'm like, so what did we buy now? But you know what? You've made the technology top shelf, so I have no actual complaints.
You guys sound great. I'll say that.
Well, thank you for that. Impulse, you talked about the vibe being different, and people enjoying each other's company, and I like that. I want to kind of peel back the curtain for a second. In my last episode, I built out the wood shop, and then I left for like the rest of the day or something, and then I like went back to work, and then I came back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to film a clip of once I get into the map, I'm going to be in my wood shop. I'm going to film a clip of, okay, so now it's done and blah, blah, blah. I come in. The second I came in, I heard a ton of different voices. I heard Ethos. I heard yours. I heard Scars. I heard Tango's. I feel like Cub was over there. B-Dubs was there. And you guys were all just on the outside of the wood shop having just a casual conversation. Nobody was recording. Nobody was making a bit. Just hanging out. And I was like, wow, I don't think this could have worked out any better. And I went out there, I'm like, what are we doing? You guys want to do a bit with me? Like this is, and so when I did that clip where I was like, so I come back in and who's here? And I switched the view and I'm like, oh, these knuckleheads. That was the audience probably thought that was fabricated. That was real. But what we're seeing is authentic energy. There was nothing planned about that setup. You guys were literally just hanging out, and all of a sudden everybody got to come into my shop and do this whole thing. And it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the Life series, Etho. I do want to spend a few minutes talking about the Life series because that thrives on 100% camaraderie, right? That nobody's doing any sort of fancy builds or whatever, right? And you have just, Etho, you feel it's just like you're just so comfortable no matter what you're doing. And the Life series, by its very nature, is kind of anxiety ridden. You know what I mean? It's an elimination game, but you tell me about your enjoyment of that, because I can tell you, I love the Life series. I can understand how there can be some anxiety with it. I love doing the Life series. What is your take on it whenever we do one of those? Are you just loving it, or is it just another kind of a fun time for you?
The Life series is an interesting one for me because I think like out of all the series I've done, it's like least into my natural skill set. You know, I feel out of place in it a bit.
Okay.
And a lot of times I'm just hoping like I'm not stuck alone doing something, that something happens where I'll get involved and, you know, I'll weasel my way into whatever. I don't really plan as well as I probably should in that series. Like I don't have my own thing going on. I'm more of a jumping on whatever's going on kind of person.
Yeah.
So it's really up to other people whether that works for me or not. And that can be a little bit stressful, you know, because you don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like you get worried about it, and sometimes you don't really know. Are there people talking behind the scenes that they might want to hook up? And that's not. I mean, is it? And maybe it's happening inadvertently. I don't know. And you don't really think about it. And I'm a very big not planner when it comes to something where improvisation is the medium. I like to deliberately not plan because I like to just let things happen. Well, the only thing I planned this go around was Tango and I met early to say, let's not team up because we get along well. But we actually said, let's not team up because we get along well, but it's always, we're together every single season and it works. It always works. And I'm a big proponent that if it's not broke, don't fix it. But there is something to be said with, come on guys, you know what I mean? And so we tried to avoid each other like the plague and it just didn't work. Like neither one of us could find a family. I was getting kicked out of every group I was a part of. And I was, you have to be okay with it. But he was too. And that's when he came back. He's like, well, everybody else is taking Skizz. We're going to have to shack up. And so that's the Heart Foundation was born. But I remember being like, this should bother me. You know what I mean? This like you and Scott. So Impulse, Scott, and Jem had their own thing, and I came by, and you guys, they must have thought I was trying to weasel my way into your family. I wasn't. My task was I had to be around Jem for 10 minutes. So you must have thought I was trying to get in there, and I wasn't. But it was kind of funny knowing that's what you guys had to been thinking. It was really funny to see how you guys each handled it, all the way to the point where Scott was like, Skizz, there's a nice plot of land over there.
Get out of here. Shoot. Go live over there. Wow.
She totally shoot me, dude. But you seem very comfortable, and you're always such a delight to play with in those Life series. I'll admit, I always I got to have some sort of passing with Etho during those series.
Team Ties was one of my favorite seasons
good.
ever. I think it actually was my favorite season. Aside from season 1, which is anytime something's new, it's gonna have a spot in your heart. But
am I only one that found the first season the most like stressful?
No, I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. Because I think that people, so you have to remember something. I think people associated having a good season with doing well competitively.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people learn through time that's not really that relevant. Having a good season is making good memories, causing laughter, causing storylines. That's what a good season is. You might be able to go the distance and it has an extra layer on it, but I think people thought if I perform poorly, then I did poorly. I don't belong here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's why everybody kind of felt that. And so what I did going into the first season was I was like, because I felt the same way. I really did. I felt the same way. But at the same time, I'm smart enough to realize there's no chance of me being legitimately competitive here. So I'm just going to try to make the best content I can. And I also, you have to keep in mind, I was the small fry. And I was among Goliaths. And so I was going to naturally be overshadowed. Everybody was already working out their families because they had existed before the show did. And I was like instant orphan, just trying to find something. Right. And then Ren and Martin, we developed a really good thing and they took me in and I found my way. It was fine. But then you go on and Team Best was a lot of fun. That was you, Etho, and B-Dubs, and then me and Tango. That was good. But you're right, Impulse. In my opinion, there's something so magical about Team Ties. And I can't quite, and maybe it's because that bridge destruction was the most beautiful thing that's ever happened in my life.
I liked how we started off. We were always kind of around that table.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you guys want to do today? And
Yeah.
it was like this, it was kind of a fun little thing. And, and we had so much fun, like the Skynet thing, trying to figure out how to attack people from the sky.
Yeah.
But no, season 1, it was stressful. Like I was totally fish out of water because I'm not a yes and theater type of guy. And so I was just trying to rely on like my technical prowess and like I remember like spending a lot of hours on like the Minecraft Reddit, like trying to learn cool little nuances to the game, like Ender Pearl's, the Ender Pearl stasis chamber with the fishing rod thing to get away, learning how to find diamonds in the swamp, which Etho called me a genius for. So there was that. And
I honestly hadn't seen that before. That was my first time seeing that. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so at least I kind of like had my own shtick that I came up with. It was like, I'm going to implement some of these cool like Minecraft technical tricks to have an advantage somehow in the game. But at the same time, I also like made a character for myself. I was trying to be like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, where I was like getting in with everyone, but really just being like against everybody and trying to pit everybody against them. So
Weasel.
Basically a weasel. Yeah. Which I knew when I was doing was going to cost me the win, but it was going to at least be a character that people like I could play and it would be fun. So yeah, that season I enjoyed that season quite a bit. It was
so good.
Yeah.
It was this like all that. So Etho, if this improv stuff, it sounds like you're saying that's a bit out of your wheelhouse, but you also seem to be legitimately good at it and creating the content. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it really feels like you're having a good time. Are you having a good time while we're making the life series stuff?
Yeah, most of the time, unless Jem is killing me a million times. But yeah, no, that's fine.
Who let her in the series? Come on, she's a beast.
No, most of the time I'm having fun, unless I'm just like out of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Then I start to panic, which happens every once in a while in the series, but not too often. Especially the later seasons, it hasn't happened much. We kind of have our rhythm figured out with it.
Yeah, but I will say I would be lying right now if I said I didn't feel a little bit of anxiety in the beginning that I'm not going to be able to find a family, if you will, because people can lone wolf. There's the thing. I can't. Skizz's thing, and I'm not talking about Minecraft survival. I'm talking about Skizz's thing is I got to be with people. You know what I mean? I need somebody who's always constantly feeding me the unknown so I can play off of it. You know what I mean? A tree's not going to do that for me. I need somebody who's going to they're going to do something. Dude, Impulse, when you left that hole in the tower and I fell to my death and I came back and we started massively bickering on it. And I was like, you got to put a lockout tag out on it. Like we're doing that whole bit or whatever. We were both in full improv and I sounded very upset. I was like as happy as I could possibly be in that moment because I'm like, this is what it's all about. Yeah. I did not expect to fall to my death. I'm really upset, but not really, so it was fun. So I'm looking forward to the next one. And I don't care, Etho, you can't avoid me, dude. I'm finding you next time.
I remember I felt really bad this last one. It's like you and Tango were trying to find a partner. It's like I've been with them 3 times now or something. It's like I can't jump in. I can't. I got to find someone else.
You had the same view that we both did. Like we can't do this. Like it keeps happening. So you were being really, really smart about it, but we would have obviously loved to have you, but we did have Kleebert for a second and then Etho walks by.
I got Cleo. That was great.
Yeah.
And Green came by and
see, I was like, what season was last season? The 4th or 5th? I
I
can't
don't
remember.
even know.
I was like, you know what? I want a chance to win. I'll team up with Scott and Jem. That'll give me my best chance. That didn't work.
No.
Turns out I actually have to be good at the game.
Yeah. That's the other thing, is that this is where I blow it. Is I'm all about creating the content, creating something different. My thing was the Heart Foundation. I thought that if I made something that was an absolute good, nobody would touch it because they would become an enemy if they destroyed it. And next thing I know, the season's heated up and I'm still using a stone sword. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I am not ready. Yeah, I never get ready the way I should.
All right, Etho, before we let you go, one last thing. I want to talk about your experience with MCC. Just no general question. I just want to hear your thoughts on what you think about MCC, what it's been like competing in it. You know, just whatever you want to say about your time with MCC. I want to hear your thoughts.
Crickets. No. No, it was great. I've always been kind of big into playing other mini games in Minecraft. You know, I did Race for Wool. I did all those old games, right, where you play competitively, kind of for fun. And I think MCC has a lot of that, so it kind of appealed to me, and it was a lot of fun for sure. There's a bit of a competitive aspect to it, though. I've seen,
Yeah.
which
A bit.
thankfully the last time we played, though, our team was not competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was more enjoyable for you probably because there was no pressure then.
We're just
to
playing
be
games then
competitive.
at that point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we knew before we started that we were going to lose, so it's like, okay, let's just make the best of it, right?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, I've done quite a few MCCs now, and that was probably my favorite one, just because there wasn't the sweatiness and the pressure to do well. I could just enjoy the moments, you know, like whether they were good or bad. They were mostly bad from a competitiveness, but they were great from just a camaraderie and a vibe and just enjoying the time. And I'll tell you what, like out of all the times I played MCC, this was the one time when I actually took it in and started to understand things. You know what I mean? Like usually I'm so under the pressure that I'm not like taking in what's around me and I'm missing everything. And I'm not understanding how the game's supposed to be played, or, you know, I'm not picking up on certain aspects of it, to where this last time, because that pressure was off, I feel like I learned more about MCC than I learned from the previous like 6 times I had been in it.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Just because like your blinders are almost up because you're so focused on the competitiveness of it.
Yeah.
And this time I allowed myself to breathe and just open my eyes and take it all in around me.
Yeah.
And I learned so much that I feel like it's gonna, when I do come back to MCC, if I'm on a team that is gonna be competitive, I'm gonna have more to offer now.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'll tell you this, I think that because we are all aware that we were not going to be able to put any sort of competitive front forward, that we're all just relaxed. That's what Etho was saying, right? Well, I'm telling you that my mind was clear. I was having the best time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what anybody says, dude. We were a really, really, really good team. And the proof is right there in the fact that the one and only brand new game we got like 3rd or 4th place in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, there's something to be said for the fact that as soon as the playing field was level, we were instantly one of the best teams. Like that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, and it was also, God, I want to play that game again because it was just so much fun. But
that was a cool game.
Yeah, it was so clever, and we organized so well, and we could be so much better than what we actually did. But even knowing that, at the end of the day, we got 4th place, I thought. But Etho, I thought you said we tied for 3rd or something to that effect.
That's what I thought. I found out later it was actually 4th.
Oh, it was 4th place. Okay, so
yeah,
but whatever. I mean, to go from 10th place, last place, last, 4th. There's something to be said for the fact that it was the only level playing field game, and we did quite well.
Because I watched some of that back, and you killed it on the gold rush part. You got like 55 gold sometimes.
Did I?
Something. Yeah, like you were up there with the top players at that.
Nice. I think what happened was so this is a thing to be learned. Once we did the gold rush, I went to I don't think it was everybody tried to go to a distant one. That's smart. But what people were only doing was going for surface gold. So I went and got some gold, and I was like, you know what, I wonder. And I just dug deep into it, and there was the biggest vein of gold in the center, like in the nucleus. And I was like, oh, that paid off. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's where the big vein comment came from. Yeah. And Tango started giggling, and Etho said, "Keep it PG, guys."
Yeah, that's right.
That was great. That was great. I remember that moment. No, that was super fun. I hope we get a chance to do it again sometime.
too.
You know, if there's another, they call it non-canon, where it's like less competitive, that we could play together. You know, Etho, I don't know if you'd ever actually be interested in doing it again when it's in the competitive like state that you know, if you were put on a team that was supposedly, you know, going to be one of the top teams. I don't know if that's something that would even interest you, but I'm sure,
I mean, it's fine as long as they don't expect much from you, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it was weird with Team Ties because I was the most seasoned MCC out of the team, but I've always been the worst player on my team, and it's always been fine. It's like, you know, you know that going in, like that's the way Scott makes the teams. Is he basically will pick, you know, somebody that constantly gets in the top 10, somebody gets in the 10 to 20 range, 20 to 30, and 30 to 40, right? And that's how he kind of usually makes the teams. And I would always be in that last spot. So when it was like in our team, I was like, they're gonna expect me to like be good at this, but I don't.
Team leader.
I'm not good at this. So this is gonna be weird. And but it was absolutely fine. And I like it was good for me because I am a overly competitive person. So to have a chance,
I was really proud of you, dude. I was really proud. I'm telling you right now, that was because I know you so well, and because I know being competitive is sort of your id, and losing or sucking, how you put it, is something that is the worst thing that you can imagine. You were like, you were doing the best acting of your life, or you legitimately evolved. And it was, and I'll tell you this right now too. I don't care that we were last. I would love to do MCC again with the same exact team. I would love to do it. And I mean, the good news is, I mean, Tango kept his cool in Sans Tango, I love you, buddy.
Etho, have you seen the streamers react to Tango losing it?
Yeah.
I love that video. I love that video.
My thing is,
It was good though. He recovered.
No,
fine.
he was
of course
he
he
recovered
did.
great. He did fantastic.
He did fine.
He was harder on himself than he needed to
well,
be.
not only
for
that,
sure.
but JoJo's like, Tango, you did really well. Like when he turned in the tokens or whatever it was, it's not like you didn't show up. You contributed a lot. So it was, here's the deal. This is where it's not really cool of me to do this. Okay. So I'm admittedly saying this. I've been very clear that frustrated Tango is one of my favorite things in the world. And I don't know what it is, but as soon as he gets like frustrated with something, it is so funny to me. Well, this was the most frustrated, and to the point where when you see, I know what it is. I call it poker chips on the floor. I know what it is to lose my cool and throw something because I'm so disappointed in myself. So knowing he was feeling that, I didn't like that part. But for some reason, it was the continued, like, I'm like, he's so mad, and I throw this, and then there's silence. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's all, never played again.
I had no
It's like he
idea.
came to peace at that moment too. And then he was fine after that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that he actually physically threw something IRL across his room.
Yeah.
Until I watched
It was so
that video.
I found it funny watching like reactions to that too. Is like the timer was running out or something, and everyone's like, "Why aren't they freaking out about this?" It's like, we don't know how the game works. This is like,
like the timer was about to run out. We're hearing this like TikTok thing going on, and we just think like, "Oh, that's normal."
Skizz got it. Skizz got it for sure.
Yeah, I was on it. And it was so funny because you guys like were all such great teammates, and like I had clearly the easy job, right? The Sandkeeper, Sand Daddy is like, I really enjoyed it. But even though it's like the easiest of the 4 roles, my job was to be the best possible Sand Daddy I can possibly be. So what does that look like? I'm going to exploit as much as I can in here, getting my own coins. I'm going to make sure that at no point are any of them confused as to where we stand time-wise. And in order to do that, like you guys were communicating too, but old school drum instructor Skizz came out a little bit, where at one point I think I even said, guys, if you hear my voice, stop talking, like, or something to that effect. Like, I need to get this. You have to know what I'm saying.
You're dominating the airwaves.
Yeah,
you need to be quiet.
Yes.
Listen to me. Shut up.
Don't dominate the airwaves.
No, those project manager and drum instructor.
And it worked out good because I knew, like, at any moment, like, how much time was left. You know, if someone was going back, how much more time I would have left. And it was fun.
Yeah, I watched your run, Etho. Sands of Time is really fun to watch how people play it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm kind of jealous because it's H-Bomb's thing, right? Like, he will literally spend days watching every single person's point of view from Sands of Time. And Etho, you were kind enough to share your footage with both JoJo and H-Bomb. And so I got a chance to see it as well because of that. And watching you play, I was just like, wow. I mean, was that literally your first time playing Sands of Time, or was it your second? Second time. I was like, it was super impressive just to see, like, you making decisions on the fly that were the right decisions. And I think that's probably what I think is one of your bigger strengths as a person. Is it seems like you are very fast at making very calculated decisions that usually go in your favor. And I saw that happening throughout Sands of Time because I do remember, like, as we were banking our coins as we went out the portal, like, I felt like I did a pretty good job. And I'd only been a runner in Sands of Time maybe 2 or 3 times before, but at least I kind of had some experience and I thought I was doing a pretty good job. And I banked my coins. I'm like, yeah, help my team out. And I see Etho bank his coins. I'm all, what? How the heck did he get so many coins? I have to see this.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was super impressive, man.
It took everything in my power not to jump in that Ravager pit because I like taking risks in games normally.
Yeah.
But I knew if I died in that moment, it would have sunk our whole team.
Yeah.
Like, things were not going well at that point. Like, another death would have that's it.
You know, when when Tango died, I was like, the second he died, I blew it. That's the one thing I did not, like, understand was how to free somebody who died. And I remember I went and watched a bunch of footage before the thing, and I never came across somebody like covering that. I'm like, all I know is that somewhere over by the Sphinx, and I got to find him, right? Well, when JoJo watched Tango's perspective of it, he died and he's behind that, like, thing. He's like, Skizz, I'm right in front of you. You can see me running all over the place. I don't know where you're at. And she's just like, Skizz, he's right there, like, right in front. And then I go up above him and I finally release him. Then she goes and she watches my view and she's like, that's why he couldn't tell it, because even she learned something. Your teammates are lit up, but not if they're in jail. So it's like, I'm looking for the silhouette of him.
Oh, that's weird.
It pops out like this. And JoJo's all, he's not illuminated. She's like, okay, now I see. Because I'm like, I don't know where you're at. Like, I'm looking everywhere. He's like, I'm right in front of you too. But I want to, honestly, if we played again, I'm fine being the Sand Daddy, but watching the runner stuff, I'm like, I'd kind of like to give that a go too. But the
running is fun.
It looks like it's so much fun.
I played on a team with JoJo one time, and she said in the very beginning of not even Sands of Time, the beginning of the event that day, that if we are out of the running for first or second place, that she wanted to be Sand Daddy. Because she's S tier, as they call it, right? So she's usually top 10, and so she's amazing, and she loves Sands of Time, and she loves running, but that's all she's ever done. And so she's just like, I want to try something different to get a different aspect of this game, you know. And I think that was the first time I was like, oh no. Because I was usually the Sand Daddy, you know? And I was like, so this means I have to be a runner now? But we got to that point and it was like, yeah, we're out of the running, so go for it, JoJo. And she was Sandkeeper, and then I got my first taste of a run. Otherwise, that might have been my first time with you guys as well.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Which did you like more, Impulse?
You know what? I think because I do lean towards being comfortable, that I would prefer to be Sand Daddy just because I'm in a comfortable space. But I really did enjoy the challenge of running, and and now I kind of have a desire to get good at it, and and you can't practice that game. So I think I actually would prefer to be a runner in the future.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Etho?
runner 100% of the time. Yeah.
Now I want to try running.
So next time Tango's Sand Daddy.
Yeah.
I think if Tango ever plays again, he will say, "I will play if I'm Sand Daddy."
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Sand Daddy gets none of the glory and all the responsibility. No, thank you.
It is one of those kind of roles for sure.
I really did enjoy it. And hearing JoJo's feedback, she's like, you did really. Actually, she was like watching my thing and she's like, honestly, she's like, he's killing it. She's like, he's communicative. He's exploring everything. And she's like, if I could pick anything for him to improve on, it would be to get a little bit more familiar with the upstairs. And she was absolutely right. To the point to where once I did, at one point during, like towards the end of our round, I went upstairs and I found the biggest pile of sand. I'm all, what? And I was like, right here. And she's like, there it is. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I'm still, it's all so brand new to me. But I loved playing, and I loved playing with you, Etho. And when we were doing what's the rocket spleef rush one or whatever, I remember I think Impulse and I were the last ones on our team, and I was flying, and it was like, this is it. I'm cooked, because that place ahead, there's nowhere for me to land on this structure. It's just like a wall, but there was like a hole in the center of it. I'm like, my only survival is to go through that hole and get to the next plot of land. And I was like, if I could just focus, and I went, and it wasn't a small hole. It was decent. And I made it through it. And I hear Etho go, "Ooh, nice Skizz." Like, cause he like knew it. He understood either he gets through that hole, he threads the needle and gets to the next one, or he's out. And so when I went through, he's like, "Ooh, nice Skizz." It was so funny, dude.
Super fun time.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Etho. I just wanted to get your thoughts on MCC. I'm not gonna put you on the spot and be like, so will you ever be in it again? Or
yeah,
anything
no.
like that. But you know,
That's up to Scott, not me.
Yeah, if the situation ever presents itself, I will put it out there. I would love to do another Team Ties.
Me too.
If Tango's down, it sounds like Etho would be so in the right situation. Yeah, like
what did you call it?
Non-canon. So what we played in was actually canon. Like those records will be in the record books forever.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but no place but up. Anyway, I don't care. I'd do another canon event actually if he asked. But
I just had such a good time, and I didn't care about winning. I cared about giving my best performance. I didn't care about winning because it wasn't on the table. You know what I mean? But I think the metaphor I used was, if I had to do a foot race against Usain Bolt, I'm going to lose, but I'm going to run as fast as I can. You know what I mean? So I was like, I wasn't interested in sandbagging it. I just had so much fun. I can't wait to do the next one, dude.
Yeah. So Etho, looking forward to obviously spending more time with you on Hermitcraft, but maybe another live series comes about.
Yeah.
Maybe another MCC comes about.
I already said we're playing Mario Kart.
Any chance to hang out in game with you, I'm 100% down for.
Yeah, for sure.
What an absolute honor it was to have you on the show, Etho. Thank you so much for giving us a lot of your time today.
Yeah, no kidding. I've been watching my watch. I'm like, for a part 2, this is like the longest part 2 we've ever had.
Yeah, I know.
We apparently had much more to talk to you about.
It was just, it was a fun, it was exactly what I wanted. It was a fun, casual hangout with a very interesting guy. And I am looking forward to all our future collaborations, just how Impulse was saying. But again, Etho, thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's been a real pleasure having you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me, and I like what you guys have been doing with the podcast. I hope it keeps going on.
Thank you.
It's been great.
And same to you. Here's to another 13 years on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's going to retire first between the three of us? Let's find
out. we need a poll.
Oh, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. We'll let you get back to your day. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you guys.